Personally Attuned Conversational Transformation Sessions, PACTS, PACTS. Personally Attuned Conversational Transformation Sessions. The idea is that of conversational hypnosis. Sometimes I have heard it called covert hypnosis. It is derived from neuro-linguistic programming, also known as NLP, not to be confused with the NLP that's natural language processing for artificial intelligence. And NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is itself derived from hypnosis and clinical hypnosis. You could even call NLP in some ways executive hypnosis. They have things like timeline therapy. They use phrases that come from historically from other thinkers, like the map is not the territory. All very interesting ideas, but the whole idea is that you can use language, here specifically spoken language, the spoken word, to elicit change, to guide people to being able to affect the changes that they desire. I like how Christopher Howard says it when I was studying his courses at the time. It was called the University of Excellence, where he says that his criteria for continuing to believe or practice something is that it continually helps him to achieve, or continue whatever he's practicing or believing continually achieves the results he desires, or consistently achieves the results that are desired. And this is what PACTS, PACTS, Personally Attuned Conversational Transformation Sessions, are doing. This is a restarting of my clinical practice as a master hypnotist, a clinical hypnotist. And another point of support for operating in such a way, which I'll get to a little bit more details in a moment. When I was completing the clinical residency portion of my training at the Hypnosis Motivation Institute, which you can find at hypnosis.edu, they're America's first nationally accredited college of hypnosis. You may know that you don't get an EDU designation on a website unless it's recognized by some of the, I will say, established, mainstream, traditional governing bodies. In this case, the Hypnosis Motivation Institute is backed by the Accrediting Council for Continuing Education and Training. They're registered with the California Post-Secondary Education Board, or whatever it's called, something like that. California Bureau for Post-Secondary Education, I believe it's called. And they're also recognized by the United States Department of Education, to the point that doctors, such as physicians, nurses, other medical and psychological practitioners, and others who require continuing education units in order to continue their practices can obtain those by taking courses at the Hypnosis Motivation Institute. So they're in the system, even though it seems to be a left-of-field practice to a lot of people. Many people still have many misconceptions about hypnosis. This school is well established and connected in all the right traditional mainstream standard places with the particular governing bodies. So that's where part of my background comes from. But the point is that when I was in the clinical residency at the Hypnosis Motivation Institute, the Hypnosis Motivation Institute. One of the things that we had to do was we had to accumulate a certain amount of clinical hours. I don't recall how many it was at this time, but we could see clients at the clinic, on site, at the school. They had a clinic there, or wherever. It could be at our home office or another office we rent. And as when we complete the sessions with the client, we record how much time it was, 30 minutes to 2 hours, whatever it was, and then have the client sign the paperwork certifying or signifying that they did in fact complete the session with us. So we turn that in, and that was part of our clinical residency, is that we had to do actual clinical client hours and submit records of that. And so one of the things that I did was, as I was preparing to do that, I met some people at the gym that I worked at, which was called Bodies in Motion. It's no longer around. And I was in the Encino Boulevard location that was near Janesta Avenue there. And I remember that people who worked with me, and they worked at the gym, the front desk staff, they saw that I was talking to people about clinical hypnosis. My girlfriend, a woman who I was dating, I don't know if she was my girlfriend or not, it was only 3 months, but she worked at the school, and I later found out that that was a taboo relationship. It shouldn't have happened, according to the rules, I guess, or whatever. But we kept it under wraps. Anyway, she worked out at the gym too, and word got around that I was very vocal about it, but that I was studying for clinical hypnosis, and I was in my residency because I wanted to get those hours. I wanted to get that done. And so people at the front desk, hey, can you hypnotize me? Can you hypnotize me? And so there were several of my coworkers that I practiced clinical hypnosis with. And the interesting thing was I was able to get deep trances on many people at a busy front desk. There were people who came in that weren't working. Some of them who were working, there were about 2 or 3 people on duty at the front desk. So I could be sitting there and inducing a hypnotic trance state and delivering empowering suggestions to someone at the front desk where it's noisy, people coming in and out, and it was working. So all that to say, that's a large part of how I've been realizing over time that I can actually, and what the practice has transformed into, is sit down in various places with various levels of privacy, have conversations with people, and affect the desired changes. So that's what, I mean, I couldn't even I don't think I could get any more precise with this acronym, PACTS, PACTS, for what is actually being done, which is personally attuned conversational transformation sessions. And that's how I've restarted my clinical practice. And because I've also wanted to design it in such a way where it fits the lifestyle that I've been designing. I haunt bookshops and cafes. It's a very comfortable place for me, because they are very comfortable places for me because I've been able to get a lot of work done in those environments. And at gyms as well. Yoga classes, particularly when I was teaching yoga classes. So there's something about those environments where people gather, and they're gathering for various reasons, but coffee shops, certain bookstores, of course also certain coffee shops, just places where you can sit and relax, sip some tea, drink some coffee, read a book. Those kind of environments are perfect for me, even if they might be busy and even noisy and what people might not expect from a clinical session, but I can have discreet conversations with somebody. It doesn't seem like it's a clinical hypnosis session, and affect the types of change that they request. Personally attuned conversational transformation sessions. PACTS, PACTS. I'm loving it. I like to think of myself as being quite clever sometimes when it comes to acronyms, because they're a lot of fun. I'm a little bit obsessed with them, as I am with a lot of other things. But that's one of those things right there. I mean, one more thing. One thing that really, really helped me to realize the power that speaking to someone has, and using these techniques and this hypnotic modalities, is I started my training at the Hypnosis Motivation Institute on November 4th of 2004. And a friend, Heather, invited myself, my friend Kevin, who's been a big inspiration for my interest in physics, and was instrumental in me deciding that I wanted to pursue a doctorate degree, actually 2 of them, in metaphysical sciences. So him, myself, this guy Chris, and some other people, we were all invited over to Heather's place with her roommate or friend, I don't know who it was, there for Thanksgiving. And so on the 24th of November of 2004, this friend of Heather's was there and said, hey, yeah, I'd like to try out hypnosis. So, I don't know. It reminds me, now that I think about it, how people do certain, what they call party tricks. I don't know what some of them are. People may do card tricks or numerology or Ouija boards. I don't know what the hell is going on, right? But this friend was interested. So I picked up the book that was one of the main texts for the school, which was written by Dr. John G. Kappas, the founder of the school. Him and his brother founded it, George Kappas. And it was called the Professional Hypnotism Manual. And I basically just opened it up to a page that had a hypnotic induction and read from the book. And you should have seen the looks on everybody's faces there when this young lady went into a super deep trance, like a somnambulist. They call it somnambulist, another word for sleepwalker, even though hypnosis is not sleep, not true sleep, although there's overlap. And sometimes you can fall asleep and wake up. You actually have things that are exactly like sleep. So there's, people can get into the details of that. I'm not going to do that right now, but the astonished looks on everybody's faces, Chris, Kevin, Heather, when she went into this deep trance and followed my suggestions and then responded to me awakening her, arousing her from the hypnotic trance on command, if I may. And also to me, just seeing it happen like that outside of the school and the clinic in just a casual setting in a living room really, really solidified to me that, hey, this is something that is really powerful and effective. And of course, at the Hypnosis Motivation Institute, one of the main things was practicums. Day in and day out, every single day I was at the school, 4 or 5 days a week, we were hypnotizing other classmates or being hypnotized by them, or at least going through those motions. We were speaking it and doing it over and over and over again. And so, I'd been doing that for, let's say, 10 days. I don't even know from the 4th to the 24th, right? I guess I can look at a calendar at some point in time and see, but only 20 days had passed. Some days had probably been off, but by then I really just picked up the book and read from it. And another thing it reminds me of is like a wizard opening up a spell book and reading from it, and then seeing the things, seeing the effects of what the spell's supposed to do happen. That's really what it was. It was a very magical moment. It was a very powerful moment. It was a turning point in my life, for all of us to witness that happening. And so it's a combination of that experience, hypnotizing people at the front desk, hypnotizing other clients from my clinical residency on the back lounge area of the gym, Bodies in Motion and Encino had this nice wooden deck on the back out there, and at parks and in various other places, that, as well as in the very controlled environment of the clinic. All of these experiences, and conversational hypnosis and covert hypnosis and NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, learning about all these things together and all these experiences throughout the years is what has got me to this point of being able to offer PACTS, personally attuned conversational transformation sessions.